All right, well, this is our last presentation that we're doing in the series that we're doing about how to kind of pull it together when you're doing grocery shopping, how to find healthy food that you that you would want to eat at the grocery store. And we know that we're doing that on a budget. We don't have tons and tons of money to just buy filet mignon and everything that we see, so we have to make sure that we know the healthy food, but how do we prepare healthy food so that we can afford to prepare it that way? Because I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. Let me word it this way and see what the answers are. If you only had $1 to eat a meal, $1, what is something really, really, really cheap that you could buy for $1 and have a meal? Can somebody think of something that cost $1 that you would eat for a meal? Deb, you got an idea?
An apple and some peanut butter.
Okay.
A glass of water.
Okay. All right. Well, you could do like what? Peanut butter crackers for 50 cents and then maybe an apple. And then water's free if you know where to get it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's a good idea. That would not be the most unhealthy thing you could eat. So that was a good example. Does somebody else have an idea of something for $1 that you could buy? Okay, Shauna?
Orange.
Did you say an orange?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Brandy.
What about McChicken?
Uh-huh, exactly. I'm sure people are aware of the dollar menu, right? Yeah.
You don't have that? Okay.
Oh, you don't have that here. Okay, well,
You
used to have the dollar menu, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes that one out of the ballpark. But yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then also, how many people have ever had like ramen soup? Has anybody ever eaten ramen soup? And I have to admit, that's one of my favorite things to eat, even though I know it's really not very healthy. But gosh, you could get a pack of ramen soup at the grocery for 50 cents. I mean, so the point I'm making here is a lot of times the cheaper food is not the healthier food. Sometimes healthy food is more expensive. Have you ever thought about that? Like, has anybody ever been to one of those special grocery stores, like the health food grocery stores, like Whole Foods, any of that? Has somebody ever been to any of those? Because we call it whole paycheck. Because you're going to spend your whole paycheck if you grocery shop there, because it's very expensive to eat that organic, healthy, everything's, baked and sprouted and, gluten-free and all this other. That can be very, very, very expensive. So a lot of what we're going to try to do today is help you to understand, first of all, how do we keep ourselves healthy with food? Because there's more to health than just what you eat. Honestly, there's a lot that goes into it. And there are different things that, medicine that we take that can make our blood sugar go up. Does anybody have a problem with that, where your blood sugar's been going up? You're on a medicine and people are telling you your sugar's getting high? Or maybe you've gained some weight. Has anybody had any weight gain because of their medicine? Did you have that, James? You did? Okay, you're still looking good, buddy. So it just, there's a lot of different factors that happen with medicine. Sometimes we don't feel like exercising. Maybe we don't get out and do enough movement. I mean, in the wintertime, think of all the snow and ice we've had this year. It's hard to get out there and walk around, right? So it's about how much we move, how much we exercise. It's what kind of snacks do we eat. We could eat the healthiest food during our meal, but then we could sabotage. You know what that means? Like, we could destroy all the work we did eating healthy because we ate a bunch of Debbie cakes, right? Yeah. Or a whole bunch of Mountain Dew. So we really want to be aware, I think, of how the food works in our bodies and how our bodies work. And then let's kind of put that all together and figure out a decent game plan, right? So how do we get healthier and stay that way? Do you think that making a dramatic change, like let's say all of a sudden tomorrow you wake up and you say, okay, I really appreciate what those ladies said, and I believe in that, and I'm going to start doing this. And I want to lose 30 pounds, and I'm going to start working out every single day. and I'm going to eat every single meal really, really healthy, okay? Do you think that that would be the fastest way for you to be able to lose the weight and get healthy is to do it that way? Or do you think it would make more sense to just try to do little things each and every day? What do you think? Alden, what do you think?
Well,
Do you think like doing it all at once is the way to do it, or do you think just doing a little something every day, right?
Every day.
Walking every day, committing yourself that wouldn't it make more sense to sign up and agree to do something that you could do instead of like, you know how you want to do it all and you want to do it right now and you go join a health fitness center and you're buying all this healthy food, you've never eaten it before, you don't even know if you like it, but it looks really good and everybody told you you're going to lose weight if you eat this, right? Sometimes all of that good intentions that we have, right? We're all excited. Think how many people have ever made what we call a New Year's resolution? Oh, come on. Everybody's made one at least in their life, right? It's a popular thing to do. At the first of every year, people on New Year's Day, they usually have 2 or 3 things that they say this year. Huh? And sometimes you end up picking out, right? Yeah. But everybody thinks about, well, what am I going to do differently this year? And so many people pick weight loss. And that's why, have you ever noticed that the local YMCA or the health clubs, they do their best business, you guys, between January and March every year. Diet places like Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, these places have so many people sign up between January and March every year. How many people do you think stay with it past March? That's when it starts clearing out. So truthfully, if you really want to join a fitness center, I suggest you wait until about April, May, But better than that, what if instead of trying to completely redo our lives in one day, right? What if we looked at this as something we could do a step at a time, just gradually making changes that we can maintain? So that's what we really want to talk about today, being realistic and making slow, gradual changes so that you don't feel like you're getting cheated out of the things that you enjoy. It's just changing it up a little bit and learning to enjoy different things. Okay, so let's see, we have the slide changer up here. All right, getting out and walking is one of those things that we can do. Like you can walk with your friends and enjoy the outdoors. Right now we're coming into a part of the year where the weather's going to be really nice, and being able to get outside and just walk is one of the best things that you can do to get your body moving. When we sit around all day long and we're not really moving, we're not getting out there and moving our bodies, we kind of, our food doesn't really move through us as well as it would if we were out, just walking. You don't have to be weightlifting and swimming really hard, and jogging and all. You don't have to do all that. It's nice if you do. That's great. But if you're somebody who really doesn't get up and walk and do a whole lot to begin with, it's going to be really hard if you think you're going to just start jogging all of a sudden every single day. You might do that for 3 days and then you're just like, forget that. What we really want to emphasize for you is find something you enjoy doing with your friends. So maybe consider some fun things like, has anybody ever played badminton? Just that fun kind of movement where you're playing a game or you're kind of just getting your body moving. It doesn't have to be anything where you join a health or a fitness center. I mean, you know what one of the very best kinds of exercise you can do is jumping rope. And that's something people of any age, it's helpful. If you have trouble with your knees, you probably don't want to be jumping on your knees like that. But, and swimming, not marathon, you don't have to do marathon laps, but being in a pool and moving around in that water, that's really good exercise. So I just want to encourage you that you don't have to have this mindset that you're going to do all this heavy-duty stuff. Just get out and move that is really good for your body. Now, when we talk about eating healthier snacks, what would be some of the snacks you think are not as healthy? Can you think of one? I'm sorry? Potato chips usually are not. Yeah, and Shauna, what did you think? Candy bars, okay. James? Cookies, and Elizabeth?
I was going to say Oreo cookies.
Yeah. Okay, all right. What is up with that? They have so many different flavors of Oreo cookies, I can't keep it straight now. They got pumpkin flavor. They got red velvet cake. What are they doing? Somebody must have bought some food coloring at the Oreo plant. Now they've got all these different flavors. It's kind of crazy. What's another unhealthy snack? Can you think of anything else that you think might be unhealthy? Okay, Shauna?
Ice cream.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that. Huh?
That's dairy.
Dairy.
That's dairy.
Yes.
Okay, did you have one back there, Teresa?
Bread.
Bread as a snack. Yeah, just sitting around eating a bunch of bread, that would not be very healthy, would it? I agree with you on that. So what we want to do, though, you know what, is we don't want to say things like, I'm never going to eat potato chips again because they're not healthy. It's better, instead of like telling yourself you can never do something again, figure out a way. If you think potato chips are the most wonderful thing ever, figure out a way that most of your snacks are healthier, but when you have those chips that you really love, you just have maybe 15 of them, okay? Just count them out and put them in a bowl and just really take your time and eat them slow. I gotta tell you this is one of the things that kind of trips people up, and all people are guilty of this, is we eat too fast, you guys.
Right.
We all eat too fast. I'm serious. Okay, now here, let me explain why this is a big deal. It takes 20 minutes from the time you start to eat food, and it doesn't count drink, okay? But if I started to eat this bag of nuts, it's going to take 20 minutes from the time I eat that first nut and I start chewing on it and I swallow it. It's going to take 20 minutes for my stomach to tell my brain that I'm full. I want to tell you that in 20 minutes, I could eat a lot of food. Now think about this. Think about you go to a buffet, okay? I know y'all know the rest of this, so everybody's seen this before. You go to a buffet and you're hungry. And you go through those buffet lines and you put a little of this, a little of that, and a little more of this, and a little more of that. And you've got this plate, right? You've got this plate that is piled up like a mountain. And you sit down and it tastes good. And it's really yummy. So you eat it really fast. And you know, that mountain is going down in size, but maybe it's only taking you 10 minutes to eat all that food. Okay, and you still feel like there's some room left for more, and you're at a buffet, and your friends are still up there eating, and you can't just only do one plate, right? So you go back, and you get another plate, and you fill that up, and you sit down, and maybe it's been 15 minutes now. You got 5 minutes left before you're going to realize you're hungry, or you're full. In 5 minutes, I'm telling you, you can eat a lot of that plate of food, that second plate. So here's what happens. 20 minutes into this, you get this feeling all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, I am so full, I am stuffed. I couldn't eat another bite if I had to, right? You get this overwhelming feeling of being so full you're almost sick, right? Okay. What has happened is it took 20 minutes from the time you started till the time you finished. Let's do it a different way. Let's start where we go through the buffet and we don't try to do a huge plate of food to start with. We do like a cup of soup and maybe some salad, some lettucey kind of salad, not the macaroni salad with the ham in it, okay? But we do some spinach or some other types of lettuce, and spinach is not lettuce, but you know what I'm saying. We put greens on our plate. And we kind of watch how much dressing. We don't use a ton of dressing, okay? But we take our time. We go and we sit down, right? Very calm. Because I'm telling you, being calm when you're eating is a big deal. That's really a good thing for your body. And we just really slowly we eat that food, and we take the time to really taste the food and enjoy it, right? If we can take about 10 minutes out of that 20 minutes with just that soup and that salad, then you go back again and you get small portions of a few different things. You take it to the table and you sit down and you eat it really slowly, one bite at a time. You chew it really thoroughly, and you drink your water. You know, don't gulp it, but just drink your water as you're eating. I'm telling you, if you do that, you will cut your intake down substantially, and you won't notice a difference, because instead of feeling sick at 20 minutes, you're going to feel satisfied. That's all we really want anyway, isn't it? We want to feel satisfied, like, oh, that was such a good meal. I really enjoyed that. You don't want the whole ride home to be, oh, I think I'm going to throw up. Yeah. So I want you to keep this in mind, because that doesn't only work on a buffet. That works on anything that you eat. That if you eat it slow, you take your time, and you really enjoy it, and you appreciate it, you're just going to feel so much better. And you know, sometimes when you eat really fast and you eat a huge amount and you feel kind of sick, even if you don't go that far with it, have you ever eaten like that, where you ate really fast and then your stomach starts to feel like it's hurting so bad? Haven't you ever felt like that? And maybe sometimes you go to the bathroom and, you know, because you just ate too much and everything just didn't really digest very good. Trust me, if you take your time, you eat slowly, and you eat good, nutritious, good tasting food, and you just really enjoy that, you give your body a chance to really break that food down and to use it the right way, so that your whole digestive tract, your stomach and your intestines and all of that gets to work the way it's supposed to. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah, it's a simple little thing. But our world is so fast now, right? We end up having to eat in the car sometimes, and that's not healthy either, you guys. Do you know, when you're doing something other than sitting down quietly, right? You don't want the stereo playing loud rock music, you know. You don't want AC/DC blaring in the background and you're trying to eat and tapping your foot. And when you sit down in a nice, relaxed, quiet environment, and maybe you're with some friends and you're talking and having fun, you have an ability to really just appreciate and enjoy what you're doing. And your body thanks you for that. But more often than not anymore in our world, we don't sit down and take time to enjoy and appreciate. Do we even think about where our food comes from sometimes? Like Cheetos. Think about Cheetos. What kind of a plant do you think a Cheeto comes from?
Do we want to know this?
I want to know if anybody knows this. This is what I'm curious about. Like, what plant? Because most things that we eat either come from plants or from animals, right? Or they come from chemicals. Okay, so what plant does a Cheeto come from? No.
Chemical?
Who?
Chemical.
Yeah, I think chemical's a good answer, but actually they come from a Frito-Lay plant.
It's just a bunch of stuff, though. It's not necessarily
Yeah,
like potatoes or anything. There's not.
Yeah, you're talking about corn byproducts and chemically manipulated, altered, pumped out, you know, styrofoamish type of stuff. And the point being, we've gotten so far away from being able to recognize the origins, the real core of what our food is made out of. Now, that being said, I could put a steak in front of you, and pretty much everybody, you would know if I said, okay, here's a steak, what animal did this come from? What's a cow? I mean, you know. But there's a lot of things that we eat that it'd be really hard to figure out, right? What kind of a plant or what kind of an animal did that come from? The more you can keep it simple, keep your food really simple, the healthier that food usually is, you guys. That's why when you hear people talk about reading food labels, when they tell you that if you read a label and the ingredients is this long, with all these words you don't even know how to pronounce and you don't know what it is, it's probably so artificial that there's not much there that your body can really utilize for health. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more, about fiber and about the content of food and how we get health and nutrition from food. But just to get you started to think about kind of the time that it takes when we're eating and really being we call it mindful. Being mindful and being relaxed and enjoying eating. I'm not going to spend much time on this, but the point I was making with the idea of joining the health club and changing everything you eat overnight versus slow, steady, gradual change. Anything that we do day after day after day after day, anything that we do persistently, that's what's going to make a difference in our life. Like a little drop of water on a rock, if it hits the same spot on the rock every day, at first, that's not going to change a whole lot. That's just a drop of water on a rock. But if that drop of water keeps hitting that rock in the very same spot for hundreds and thousands of years, that's what the water can do to a rock. It's not the storm of water that blows up on that rock that makes something change. It's that drop hitting that same spot over and over and over again. So it's really powerful, whatever it is you do, that you do over and over and over again. Have you ever seen an animal, let's say, who is shy and maybe that animal was hurt before by somebody? I'll get all choked up talking about that, but have you ever seen somebody that takes an animal, maybe they adopted the animal from the Humane Society, an animal that was mistreated, and that animal is so scared of human beings because they had a bad experience, and somebody every day, just that person who's the new owner is so gentle to that animal, and that animal is so scared, and that new owner just keeps being sweet and kind and gentle, and they don't make loud noises and they don't scream and yell. They're just very kind and they're very quiet and they're very patient. Day after day after day, that animal will come out and begin to trust the person. No matter how bad it's been for that animal, it may take a long, long time, but the animal can learn to trust and love the person. And then they are really close. They have a really good relationship because the animal loves the person now because the person took that time to be really good to the animal day after. So just to kind of summarize the ideas that we've talked about for the last half hour, what do you think would be the most likely to make you gain weight? Okay, would it be if maybe once a month or twice a month you see that big meal over here on the left? Does anybody know where that's from? That is the best barbecue that I have ever had, and I've had a lot of good barbecue. I am from the South, if you didn't figure that out already. And and we have good barbecue in the South. So anybody know where that's from? That is Gates Barbecue out of Kansas City. I don't know that I'd call Kansas City the South, but it's really good. So if you ever go to Kansas City, try Gates Barbecue. What do you think? Do you think that eating the big Gates Barbecue meal twice a month? Or do you think it would be Monday I ate a couple of donuts on top of everything else I ate, Tuesday I ate a bunch of Pringles, Wednesday I had a Baby Ruth, Thursday I had 3 chocolate chip cookies, etc. What do you think is going to make you gain weight more easily? Is it the little things that you do every day of the week, or is it twice a month eating the big barbecue meal?
It's all the sweets.
Huh?
All the sweets.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Teresa, what do you think?
I think I'll be way too much.
I'm sorry?
Way too much.
Just eating way too much? Every day?
All the time.
Yeah, doing something day after day after day. Those extras like that, they add up. Those extras add up. Now that big meal, if you only did that once or twice a month and the rest of the month you ate really pretty good, that big meal is probably not going to mess you up. But if you're eating, kind of okay, kind of not, you're eating a lot of fast food and you're eating a lot of fattening stuff, and then on top of that, you're eating donuts and candy bars, and look at those French fries with all that cheese and bacon and everything on them. So it's that, again, that thing that you do day after day after day after day after day. Now, I'm going to put another factor on here. Charles, what would happen, though, if you ate that extra little something and you exercised every day? You started doing more exercise. Do you think that this would really mess you up, or do you think you could exercise maybe more and be able to have a little bit of that sometimes? All right, well, let's see if somebody else has an idea about that. Elizabeth, what do you think?
I'd exercise more before I could manage all that stuff.
I think so, and that way, in the perfect world, maybe we wouldn't have the candy bar and the cookies and the donut and all that. But let's be real. Everywhere you go, you could go to the bank and they'd have a bunch of donuts sitting out. Haven't you ever had that happen? You go to the doctor's office and they've got, candy sitting there. It's just everywhere we go. Sometimes it seems like there's parties, there's going away things, there's special, we're going to make brownies this afternoon because that's something fun we can do together. We really use food as a way of connecting with other people, you guys. We really do. We use food to connect with other people. And how many times have you gone to a party and the food that they're serving to connect with people is celery sticks? It doesn't happen very often, does it? If you went to visit somebody, Alden, and you were baking something special to take to somebody, would you bake apples? That might be something you could do, but most of the time people are going to bake brownies or cookies or cake, right? So, it's not like we're going to be able to not, we can't avoid that stuff. That stuff is part of our experience. And it would be hard to say, I'm never going to eat that. But what we're trying to do here is look at what are the things that we could do to try to offset that. What are some things we can do that's going to make the rest of what we eat healthy? And then we're moving more, we're exercising more, so that when we do have potato chips, Alden, we're going to enjoy them because we're only going to have like 15 and we're going to really eat them slow. Just half a bowl. Yeah, that's right.
Depends how big the bowl is.
I want to talk now more about what does food actually do in your body. Okay? When you eat, the food that you eat breaks down into blood sugar. Blood sugar is like gasoline is in a car. How does a car run? What is the fuel that cars run on? Gas. Blood sugar is the fuel that your body runs on. So sometimes when people say that you have blood sugar, of course you do. You'd be dead if you didn't. It's just a matter of how much sugar you have, how high is your blood sugar. And that's where we can get into trouble, is if our blood sugar gets high, okay? Because when we eat, and we eat food that turns into blood sugar, sometimes that food can turn into blood sugar really fast. It'd be kind of like if you went to the gas station to put gas in your car, and you ever been at a pump and the pump is just putting the gas in there really fast, and you ever seen the gas just start flowing out of the car because it backed up and there's too much in there? That's a problem. Let me tell you, that's not a good thing. If we eat food that turns into blood sugar really quick and we get a whole bunch of sugar, our body has what we call insulin that our body produces to help bring that sugar level back down. Okay? But sometimes if we flood our gas tank with too much sugar over and over and over and over, The body gets to the point that it can't do enough insulin. It can't make it well enough to take care of all that extra gasoline that's spilling out on the pavement under the gas tank. What our body does with extra sugar is it turns it into fat, and it stores it in fat cells oftentimes, okay? It's called triglycerides, the storage form of the sugar. It converts it into triglycerides. So, I bring that up because sometimes people have high triglycerides. Has anybody ever been told you have high triglycerides? Yeah, and that can happen because, not because we're eating too much fat, but because we're eating too much sugar. And we're making it really hard for our body to be able to handle that sugar. So the body's turning it into fat. Okay, and so here's what happens. We gain weight. The more weight we gain, the harder it is for the sugar that we need to run off of to get into the cells. The cells of our body are like the engine of the car. Your car has to get the gas from the tank to the engine, right? I mean, you can have all kinds of gas in your car, but if you can't burn it in the engine, your car's not going to run. And you're just going to have all this extra gasoline backing up, right? Okay. Insulin is the fuel line that carries the blood sugar from the bloodstream inside to the cells that are the engine. Okay. So, the problem we get into is if we've overwhelmed the insulin and it doesn't work right anymore, then we start gaining weight, and then that makes it worse because when we gain weight, the doors on the cells, let me show you with the diagram. The cells have doors on them, and the doors are called receptor sites. So these doors, here, let's just pretend for the sake of thinking about this, that this is blood sugar, and it's coming around in your blood. So you got this blood sugar, and then you've got insulin, which is that fuel line, right? So this is insulin. Insulin is carrying the sugar into the cell. Well, when you gain weight, these receptor sites, your cells start getting crowded together. And right here you can see that as this, because these cells, what are they filling up with, you guys? Huh? Well, part of it, the weight gain, is they're filling up with those triglycerides. So the adipose tissues, the cells of the adipose is getting bigger and bigger, and your receptor sites are getting blocked off as there's weight gain. So you've lost, right here in this drawing, we've lost 3 doors. So all the sugar out here and this insulin, it doesn't have enough doors to get in through very fast. So the sugar backs up in the blood and you get high blood sugar. And the more this happens over and over and over again, the more this gets dysfunctional. This starts to shut down, and it reaches a point where it turns into full-blown diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure. Your blood vessels are starting to constrict. They're getting smaller. They're getting clogged with fat, right? Not a pretty picture. We can change a lot of this. If we eat things that don't turn to sugar so fast and we start losing the weight, when you start losing the weight, you're going to open this back up again. You're going to have more doors. And on top of that, if you're not eating so much sugar all at once and having all this here, you got more doors because you lost weight and you got less sugar floating around. This is all working better. This is all getting back to normal. There's a lot of people with type 2 diabetes. That means they weren't born with it. This happened over a period of time. That just changing their diet and exercising and losing weight will reverse this thing so that they can get back to normal. You can change this. We're not stuck with this. But what we have to do is take a really hard look at what are the foods that turn to sugar the fastest. And how do we make choices so that we don't put so much of this here and mess this up, and then this whole thing just keeps getting worse and worse, right? Okay, it's a lot to think about, but anyway, let me just say something else about this insulin situation. You got all this sugar here, and you've got, every time you've got a sugar, I'm saying this really simple. It's not as simplistic as I'm making it, but I'm trying to do that for the sake of understanding. All these sugars make your body have to create all these insulins, right? So all these fuel lines, your body is making this insulin and putting this insulin out in response to how much of this that you took in. They are now finding, sciences, that the beginning of most major disease, cancer, obesity, arthritis, heart disease, practically any major killer in the United States that you can think about, science and medicine is finding it's the insulin that's the problem. The insulin is inflammatory to the body. So the inflammation in the body is what sets you up to be susceptible to the damage that occurs as a result of what this is doing. So it's the insulin that is the problem. There's a lot of problems with what I'm showing you here, but that insulin, people didn't think of it this way until recently, but I want you to really give that a lot of thought too, because it isn't just food that would make your insulin go up. Insulin, cortisol, stress hormones. What do you think stress hormones are generated from? Wait, I didn't catch that. Diet? Being tired. That's a great answer, Alden, because yes, when you're tired, you're stressed, aren't you? When we're tired, we haven't slept well. We've got a lot of fear. We've got anxiety and stress in our lives. We're worrying about stuff. Okay? That creates stress in our body that is damaging, just like the insulin is. Where do you think that kind of stress and that fear, where does that come from? What part of our body does that come from? It's how we think, isn't it? Isn't it how we think?
Yes.
Like if maybe if you and Teresa accidentally bump into each other out in the hall and she doesn't say, "Excuse me," or something. I mean, if you started thinking that Teresa was mad at you and then you started worrying about Teresa being mad at you, you would be stressed, right? Okay, well, it's bad to have to worry about that. It'd be easier to just say, "Hey, Teresa, I hope you're not mad at me. I didn't mean to bump into you." But how many times do we worry about stuff? And you're worrying about it because of the way you're thinking about it. Because you don't really know if she's mad at you, and it'd just be easier just to ask her. But instead, we worry, and that's how we think. But we feel it here in our stomach. Like when we're nervous, we feel it in our stomach. But again, it's damaging to the body. So we got to think about that, you guys. How can we dial down the amount of stress that we have in our lives? How can we turn that down? Eating carrots. That'll help. Hey, that's a good choice.
Exercise as well, Terri.
Exercise, that's a great way to do it. Other things, what are some other things that you can, maybe a little outside of the conversation about the food and the exercise, but what are some things in your personal life that you can do that will help with stress?
Daily diary.
That's a good idea. Kind of writing things out and looking at them on paper. Huh?
I told her to write one for me.
Okay.
I won't be able to work then.
Elizabeth, you have an idea of something that we can do to turn down the stress?
Reading a book for bedtime.
You know, I'm going to say that that's such a great idea too, because if you're looking at a computer screen or even a television, and your brain is moving with that, it's so much harder to fall asleep. But when you turn off all the video screens and all that stuff, and the telephone and all that, right? You turn all that off at least an hour before you go to bed, maybe even longer, and you read a book. It quiets your mind. That's a good thing to do. Because I'm telling you, you know, we can spend hours talking about the details of healthy food and unhealthy food. I mean, we can do all that, but at some point, it's really just a bunch of food rules. And it's not about rules. Rules are not going to fix the stress that you're putting your body through if you're constantly worried and upset and frustrated about things. I don't care what you eat at that point, because this is damaging your body way more than this stuff is. I just really want to make that point, you guys, because more and more I read about this stuff constantly, and this is the stuff that science is finding now is the cause of what's messing us up. It's the stress and the fear and the way we're thinking about things. You know, we talk a lot about genetics, you know, like, oh, everybody in my family had cancer, and it's true that genetically, that can run through a family, just like arthritis, just like being overweight could run through a family, right? All this stuff, even diabetes could run through a family. What turns on the genes? A lot of time people have spent looking at, you know, what type of things in your diet is going to activate your genetics to turn on the gene for cancer or for heart disease or this or that. I don't mean to say that that doesn't count for anything, because it does. But what they're finding now is your thoughts, your good thoughts and your bad thoughts. That's what turns on the genes and starts putting things in place, good and bad, is it starts with the way we think. So don't lose sight of that. That's a very important thing. I'd rather see a person be calm and happy and relaxed and eat some bad stuff than somebody who's nervous and freaked out and anxious and they're eating all this health food all the time. Because I'm telling you, the person that's all freaked out and stressed and anxious, they're going to be the ones that probably have the damage to their body before the other person does. So I just want you to think about how important it is that you stay calm and relaxed and just enjoy life. There's a lot to be said for that. And along those lines, the last thing in our booklet on this page, if anybody's following along in the book, we're on this page here. It says, watch out for energy drinks like Mountain Dew and other soft drinks because the caffeine. What does caffeine do? And I know I'm drinking some of it too. But if you drink too much caffeine in a day, has anybody ever experienced where you kind of get jittery a little bit? Yeah. Or you have trouble sleeping that night, right? Along the lines of the positive thinking thing I was just telling you and how that helps to protect your health, one of the top things that you can do to protect your health is getting enough sleep at night. That's another thing that is really important, but people don't talk about it very often, but it's really important. There are a few people in this world that are able, and I've actually known some that can function 5 or 6 hours a night, but they're rare. When we start robbing our body of sleep, if you happen to have the genes, and you may not know this, or you might, if you have the genes for autoimmune disorders, things like Lyme disease or fibromyalgia, okay, chronic fatigue syndrome, you may have a family member that's ever had that before. You may not know you have the tendencies towards these things. If you rob yourself of sleep, and you do that over a period of time, and you're under stress, and we call that like burning your candle at both ends. You're trying to do too much, you're working a long job or 2 or 3, and you're not sleeping enough, and that goes on long enough, you may find that you develop a disability that, you know, you can't work any longer. Nobody wants that. I used to work with people at a clinic that had fibromyalgia. It's not a good way to be. I mean, your chronic fatigue, same thing. You're always tired. You have a lot of sensitivity to chemicals and smells. Things like going to the gas station just tears you up because you're so sensitive to all of that. You get headaches, and you just don't have the energy to be able to do much of anything. I've known several people that were very capable people that had a good life ahead of them, and they pushed themselves so hard, and they didn't sleep, and they ended up on disability, and they just stayed home all the time because they didn't have anything left. So protect your body. Your body is the most important thing that you have to be able to do things in this world, right? If your body breaks down on you and gets sick and doesn't work right, you go backwards, yeah. So, okay. All right, so when we were talking about the kind of food that turns into blood sugar really fast, what do you think these kind of foods do? Do you think these turn into sugar fast or slow? Huh?
Ice cream.
Well, I think there's some ice cream up there, yeah. What do you think? Fast or slow? Huh?
Joe.
You think these are slow?
This is Joe.
Well, no, you thought you were going to say fast. Yeah. These are the things that turn into blood sugar quickly. This isn't everything. This is just a few things, but this just kind of give you an idea of the foods that turn into blood sugar really quick, and they make a lot of blood sugar, okay? So just take a look at this, and then let's look at complex carbohydrates. All right, these don't turn to sugar quite as fast. Now, we're talking about carbohydrates. That's a big, long word, but basically, carbohydrates are foods that the body can turn into sugar pretty easily. So when we eat carbohydrates, that's going to be the first type of food that our body's going to try to turn into sugar. The other two types of food is protein and fat. Protein and fat are harder to get sugar out of. So this is pretty much most of the effort that the body makes to get sugar is going to come from carbohydrates, okay? All right, so I hate to say good and bad, but there's, healthy and not so healthy carbohydrates. The ones we just looked at a minute ago, those foods are the ones that turn to sugar really quick. These are the healthier ones, the healthier carbs. And again, this isn't all the healthier carbs, it's just a few examples. But we're looking at stuff like some people would say, but isn't corn and black-eyed peas, aren't they a vegetable? Let's see if somebody knows why we would think that black-eyed peas and corn are actually a carbohydrate. Starch. That's the magic word, yes. What we would call a seed vegetable. And in Nebraska, everybody should know seed vegetable, because corn, the way it looks as a seed that you'd planted in the ground, if it looks that way on your plate, it's not going to be a vegetable in the way that we would think of vegetables and how the body uses vegetables. It's a starch, right? So starches have sugar because the seed was the seed provides sugar for a baby plant to grow. So when we eat a whole bunch of seeds, we're eating a bunch of starch. Now, it's not bad. It's not going to go to sugar so fast, because when you're eating something like this, there's more work that your body has to do to break this down. If you were drinking a big, huge glass of fruit juice, how much work do you think that is for your body to turn that into sugar? I mean, it practically just goes right through, right? This, if you eat this, there's some fiber, and there's some what we call phytonutrients, but just like some plant-based nutrition and fiber and vitamins and minerals and different things. this takes longer for your body to break it down. So when your body is taking the food that it eats, breaking it down, and sending it through your digestive tract, this will help you to have something there that your body can have a bowel movement, right? Because if all you eat are foods that just turn to sugar, or like the Frito-Lay plant, you know, the Cheetos, there's not much left over at the end of that. So when we talk about being constipated, oftentimes we're talking about people that are not eating enough plants in their diet. So I want you to think about that, you know, because that being able to go to the bathroom and have the bowel movement is really healthy for your body. And when you have 3 or 4 days in a row and you can't go, that doesn't feel good. It's not good for your body. And a lot of times it reflects that you're not eating enough fiber. Okay? This is something you would eat at breakfast. This is oatmeal. But look at how it's got like walnuts in it, or almonds, I mean, and raisins and dried fruit. Okay? That is all going to slow this down so it doesn't turn to blood sugar so fast. Plus, with it being oatmeal, it's got some fiber in it too. So that's a better choice than, remember that cereal that was on the other slide? It was like Trix or something. It was one of those little kid cereals, right? I mean, that's kind of bad right there if you have to say that's what we feed kids. Yeah. So corn. Corn is a seed vegetable, and that's going to be healthier than, you know, eating one of those other things on the other page. Fresh fruit. Fresh fruit is one of the healthiest things, that and fresh vegetables, because they have fiber and they have a lot of nutrition in them. And when you eat them, like when you eat an orange, even if you know, obviously you're going to peel the outside of the orange, but when you eat the orange wedges, you know how they've got that little membrane on the wedge, and you eat that too? That helps to give you something for your body to work on for digestion. And that's a good thing. Plus you get liquid. All right. So what do we call these things? A complex carbohydrate. So I want you to think about simple and complex. Healthy or unhealthy is simple. Simple is not healthy. Complex is healthier. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to test your knowledge about this. All right, what is the better choice? This is a little bit of a trick question. What is the best choice? Okay, Elizabeth?
Yogurt and blueberries.
That is a good choice. Now I'm gonna work with you on this just a minute. What would be the best kind of yogurt for this? Well, I'm gonna give you two choices. Would it be yogurt that has a whole bunch of jelly at the bottom of it, or would it be plain yogurt? Plain yogurt, because that whole bunch of jelly is simple carbohydrate. Remember the simple carbs that were like the ice cream and the candy and fruit juice, the bad fruit juices and stuff? Okay, that jelly at the bottom of yogurt, I'm sorry to tell you this because everybody loves yogurt and they like that stir from the bottom stuff. That stuff is jelly and it's really not healthy. You knew that, didn't you, James? Yeah, I can see you on that. If you use plain yogurt and you use, like these look like frozen blueberries to me, or they might be fresh blueberries. But see how they put the blueberries into the yogurt? There's another way you could do this too. If you bought a yogurt that had 80 calories, like a blueberry flavored yogurt, and it has 80 calories in a container instead of 150 or more, that would be healthier too. So this is a good choice. Well, let me ask, let's see, James, between this, which is the 100-calorie packs of snack, or over there on the other side, you've got all the regular potato chips and Cheetos and things. You've got the bigger bags of stuff. Between those two, what's the better one? The smaller bag, right. So, does anybody buy these? Is there anybody that's buying these yet? Okay, good, good. Yeah, because, sometimes, you want that, because we were talking about Oreos, remember? Who was talking about Oreos? Sometimes you want Oreos, right? But if you ate regular Oreos, you probably, 3 Oreos is probably 250 calories or more. You don't get much. This is 100 calories and you get a whole package of them, right? So if you have to have those kind of snacks, and sometimes you do, and I do too sometimes, you get this. Because most of us, even if we count out our chips, we're going to go back and get another bowl of them sometimes, right? I mean, it's just, either 15 of them go away so fast, and then you want more. So if we don't buy that at all, and we just buy these, we're in better shape of hopefully limiting this to just one. All right, what do we think about the popcorn? Is popcorn a good snack? When is it a good snack and when is it not a good snack? When it's air popped, yeah, okay, that would be the good kind. What's another kind of popcorn that's healthy? Okay, but what kind of microwave popcorn? Would it be light? Light, yeah. What do you think?
And homemade popcorn.
Homemade popcorn, okay, yeah. So popcorn can be a good snack. We just kind of have to watch how much fat and butter and flavor and all of that we put on it, right? So, yeah, we got to think about these things. Again, the little things here and there, it doesn't seem like it adds up, but it's like money. If you spend extra money here, and then you spend some extra money here, and then you pay more for something here, before you know it, your money's gone. It's the same thing with calories and weight gain. Doesn't sound like that big a deal to pick air-popped popcorn or light popcorn over the regular heavy butter. It doesn't sound like that big a deal. But that extra 100 calories or so, day after day after day after day, and then you put that with the extra calories because we had a fatty piece of meat instead of a lean cut of meat. And then we had a bigger portion size over here instead of the right portions. All of that stuff adds up. I'm going to tell you one of the things that adds up for the most calories every day that most people don't even think about. It's what you drink. Now, I'm looking at all the water in front of you guys. That's awesome. But soft drinks? Well, yeah. I was trying to give you credit for that. You're going to go out for lunch. Yeah, I know. I've been accused of messing up lunch for people a few times. I won't eat my ramen soup today, I'll tell you that. It's what you drink a lot of times that I'm not picking on you now. Diet soft drinks obviously are less calories than regular soft drinks, but really at the end of the day, water is the thing because hydration, keeping our bodies well hydrated is really healthy for our bodies. When you drink soft drinks, whether they're diet or regular, and they're loaded with caffeine, and you drink them all day long, they make you go to the bathroom more, and you lose a lot of the fluid that you're drinking throughout the day. Okay, so again, kind of keep in mind that water would be one of the best things you can drink. And I know not everybody enjoys plain old water. I don't always enjoy plain old water, but has anybody tried any of the flavors that you can put into the water? Huh? Flavored water, yeah. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. There's the little squeeze bottle called Mio that has different flavors, and there's many different brands on this now. 2 or 3 years ago, you couldn't hardly find it, but now it's everywhere. There's those little foil packs of drink flavor that's sugar-free. You can stir that. You can just open a bottle like that and pour one in and shake it real good, and you've got, a flavored drink. And a lot of people enjoy those. So anyway, just another something to think about. What is the healthiest way to cook your food? That's another thing that can add or subtract calories based on how you do it. What do you think? You cook chicken? Yeah. Would it be better to bake or to fry food? It'd be better to bake food. What about grilling?
Yes.
Yeah, grilling is a nice way to prepare food. Now, we don't want to char grill things to the point where they got all that black, crusty. That's not considered healthy, but vegetables and meat really do very well on the grill. Has anybody ever bought one of those wire screen things that you can put your pieces of vegetables on those? They're really good. I have found that in the time I've been in Nebraska, people love to grill. And I have become, I won't say an expert, but I've become knowledgeable about grilling because I bought a grill and I've done the grill thing. So I don't know why I've missed that for so long, but it's been good. All right, what's the healthiest way to eat vegetables? Huh? Lightly steaming them, or even eating them raw, uncooked, although sometimes that's not, people can't chew that very well or whatever. There's a lot of ways you can prepare vegetables. You can do a stir fry and not use a huge amount of oil. If you get a nonstick skillet or a wok, you can just do a small amount of oil. Steaming, having a salad. What about marinating vegetables? Has anybody done that where you put like a marinade, you make a dressing with vinegar and maybe a little bit of sugar, not a lot, a little bit of oil, and again, think about the types of oil you use. I'm not an anti-fat person. I'm not like, oh, you can't eat any fat at all. Let's face it, fat in our food helps us to stay full. It makes you feel a lot more satisfied than if you just ate food that had like very little, if any, fat. You're usually going to be hungry again an hour later. It's a matter of eating the right kinds of fats and oils. So, your olive oil is going to be a much better choice. And sometimes with cooking, I like to use the coconut oil, okay, because it doesn't break down. When I say that, if you were to put olive oil in a skillet and turn it way up and you're seeing it smoke, that's not healthy. But the coconut oil can handle that high temperature. So just using a small amount of the coconut oil, it can handle the hotter temperatures on the stove. But having a little fat in your food is not bad. And when can you think of an example of a food that has fat that's good fat? Like a protein food that you can think of that has good fat in it? Omega-3? Like fish? Like salmon? Okay, so there's actually good fat that's in certain foods. And what about walnuts and almonds? And nuts have good fat in them too. So there is such a thing as good fat. And you don't want to miss out on that. All right, let's just take a guess at some stuff here. What do you think is probably the worst calories on the board up here? What do you think is the highest in calories up here? Yeah, that big burger. Most people need about 1,600 calories to 2,000 calories a day to maintain their weight, depending on if you exercise a lot or you're a big, huge, muscular guy, you're going to need more than that, but just on the average. If you needed 1,600 calories a day to maintain your weight where you're at, and you're eating 1,400 calories a day in one hamburger, what do you think is going to happen? You're probably not going to stay at that weight for very long, are you? I mean, that'll probably keep you full for a while. I'm going to say there's probably a lot of fat in that hamburger. That's where that number gets so high. But, I mean, come on, 8 hours later, you're going to be hungry again. Eventually, you will eat again after that. So, what do you think about that soft drink? That soft drink is 523 calories, and that's with ice. If you don't put the ice in there, you're going to get way more calories even than that. The point being, if you only need or let's say you wanted to lose weight and you went on a diet where you were eating 1,400 calories a day. If a third of your calories come from your soft drink, it just doesn't leave you much room to eat anything. So I just want you to think about that, because people drink a lot of calories every day without, and the other thing that people get tripped up on is when you go to the filling station or the quickie store and you buy the fruit juice in the bottle, like the Sobe, and it's like, oh, this is healthy because it's fruit juice. It's really not. And many of those things are 200, 300 or more calories per bottle. They'll say per serving, and then you look at the servings, and in a bottle that big, there's 2.5 servings. So you're looking at maybe 500 calories sometimes in some of these bottles of drink that claim to have fruit juice in them. That's the kind of stuff that turns to sugar really, really fast. I mean, it's like you melted a whole bunch of Skittles or jelly beans and you put water in there and you drank it. Not very healthy. So just want you to think about that. I mean, the way I look at it, there's certain things I love to eat that are not healthy, and I want to save my calories. I don't want to mess up and just, I want to save the calories for that thing that's really special, right? It's like money. If you spend extra money all day long, when it comes time to buy that one big special thing you wanted, if you had saved that money, you would have the money to buy the special thing. But if you just spend that money constantly on all that other stuff, you don't have the money when it's time to get the good thing. So we're going to segue now, and we're going to kind of move into the grocery store, and we're going to talk about shopping at a grocery store. Okay, I thought you had a question. Okay, so the produce section of your grocery store is going to obviously be where the fresh fruits and the fresh vegetables are going to be located. In general, when you're thinking about grocery stores, have you ever noticed how around the periphery or the walls, all around the walls of the grocery store is where the refrigerated cases and the fresher food is going to be located, typically around the perimeter of the store. The shelves in the middle of the store tend to have the food that's had more processing done on it because that food is not refrigerated. When you start in a grocery store, oftentimes you start in the produce section. This is oftentimes the first place that you see when you go in your store. And you've got all these refrigerated cases, and sometimes they're not refrigerated, but you've got, the reason this is refrigerated is that these foods break down more easily. Think about that for your body. A food that breaks down more easily in heat and light and air, your body's going to be able to break that down and utilize that for nutrition because these things are fresh. The vitamins and the minerals and the content of these foods is fresh. So it's more health-giving, it's more life-giving. So I want you to think about that and think about the colors. The colors in the fresh fruits and vegetables are part of what makes them nutritious, believe it or not. It's the pigments, it's the colorings, like the deep, rich red that you find in beets and grapes, like red grapes, purple grapes. Think about a rainbow of color. Think about things that are dark green, leafy vegetables. The darker green ones are healthier than the really pale, washed out looking lettuce. Your spinach is going to be, the dark green spinach is much healthier than that pale washed out lettuce. That rich, dark, deep color that's in your fruits and vegetables is very healthy because those are compounds. Those are special plant chemicals. They're not man-made, they're nature-made. And those chemicals are good for your body and help your body to function in a really healthy way. I want you to think about where we come from as human beings. We've been on this planet a long time, right? Think about 1,000 years ago. We wouldn't be getting our food at the grocery store 1,000 years ago, would we? No. We would have been growing food in the ground. We would have had cattle and animals, and we would have had gardens, and our food would come from the ground to the table. We would know where the food came from. There wouldn't be all this processing. We wouldn't be eating manipulated fats that have been synthesized and trans fats and all this other stuff. We wouldn't have all this added sugar that would be put into things and all that salt that's put into things. I mean, I get that salting and pickling and curing meats was something people would do, but it wouldn't be done to just about everything you eat, right? But now you fast forward 1,000 years in the future and where we're at now, practically everything we eat has had some kind of processing done to it unless, and even the food here, do you think this food hasn't traveled? Most of it has. what would be one of the best ways? I mean, obviously, if you grew a garden, you'd know where that food came from. But what would be another thing you could do if you don't grow your own garden, but you wanted fruit and vegetable that you knew was pretty much fresh? What could you do? Farmer's market, perfect. That's a great way to be able to, help people locally with the economy and be able to enjoy the fruits and vegetables from your local area. So anyway, getting back to the rainbow of color, we want to really encourage you to find the fruits and vegetables that you enjoy and start bringing those into your diet. Even if, let's say you don't like to eat, then let's say maybe you don't like to eat carrots unless they're cooked. If we made something in a crock pot where maybe we bought something like parsnips and we've not ever had that before, but we cut that up with the carrots and the celery and the other stuff, and we kind of throw that together in the crock pot, it tastes a lot better that way, right? So it's a way to kind of start bringing some new things in. I'd really encourage you to try some new fruits and vegetables and see what you can kind of work in. So again, just look at this rainbow of color. All this nice, rich, pigmented food. And there's a lot of soluble fiber. Soluble is the fiber that kind of helps you to have the ability to go to the bathroom and not be so constipated, okay? Soluble fiber is a good thing to have in the diet. There's a form in your handout that shows you the 5 different colors of fruits and vegetables and kind of how you can include these different colors by making different choices. Each one of those colors comes from different plant compounds that have different properties, different abilities to keep you healthy. Some things like the beta-carotene that is the yellow-orange, some of those things help with your eyesight, okay? And then others are protective against cancer, and others are what we call antioxidants. So there's a lot of good, nutritious qualities, but they're in these different colors. So if you just eat the same color of stuff all the time, you're missing out. Yeah. All right, so as we're talking about the outer walls of the grocery store, and we move out of the produce section, another part of the grocery that's refrigerated and fresher food is your milk and dairy section. You got to watch this, though, because there's some stuff in here that is healthier than other stuff, right? Kind of like anything else. We usually recommend skim milk, just a way that you can save some calories and some fat, because that's not the real healthy fat there in the milk. That's the animal fat. So if we can kind of get you to think about skim milk. Another thing you might want to consider, the lactate milk. If you have any trouble digesting milk, which quite a few people do, the lactate milk is easier to digest and it stays fresh longer because the milk sugar has already been kind of broken down. So it stays fresh longer in the refrigerator. Chocolate milk's going to have a lot more sugar added to it, so I would not recommend that. But I will tell you this, there are some things you can do. These things have no calories in them. Well, I shouldn't say no, they have 5. Whoa, don't eat all those at once. But you can take regular milk, just a regular glass of skim milk, and I've used these in smoothies before too, but you just take a pack, open it up, put it in your milk, stir it up, and it really tastes good. And you've got chocolate and strawberry.
And if your grocery store does not have that, there's the quick sugar-free type. Yeah, okay, there you go. And you have a Dollar General here.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you do have some different options, and that's good.
Yeah. Yep. Now, the cheese and the yogurt section is, you got to be a little careful and be knowledgeable here. Do you remember what we said earlier about yogurt? What kind of calories are you looking for on your yogurt? Anybody remember the magic number? 80 to 90, okay. A lot of yogurts get into the 150. I've even seen 200 and more. And typically when you see the yogurts that are way up there, they've got some second little pouch of something you're supposed to stir into it. Think about that. There's all kinds of stuff happening where they're taking yogurt and in the lid, they're taking a piece of foil and they're putting like candy and sprinkles and cookies that are crumbled up, and they're having you stir that into your yogurt. I could eat chocolate pudding that was made with skim milk for 80 calories. I mean, it's silly to, I mean, why deal with the twang of yogurt if you're eating something that you've turned into pudding? Just saying. I mean, it's cheaper, really. If you like pudding, you can still get a dairy serving by making your own pudding with skim milk. You know, I just think it's funny that people think that's a health food. They're like, oh yeah, you know, Oreo cookie crumbles in my yogurt. And it's like, wow, you're eating 200 calories on that. Just go eat some ice cream. The cheese is another one. That cheese can be very high in fat and calories. Again, you got to really watch your portion size. I mean, yeah, who doesn't love cheese? But if you eat a lot of cheese, then cheeses really can be very, very high in calories. It's also high in protein, so it has some good qualities to it. I would recommend look for your skim milk cheeses, your farmer's cheese, your mozzarella cheese, some of your reduced fat cheeses. Most markets are going to sell like low fat and reduced fat versions of like Swiss cheese and different things. So just try to be careful in what you're buying with your cheeses. It again goes back to that idea that everything adds up. So if you can save 50 calories here, 100 calories here, at the end of the day, if you added all that up and you save 400 calories a day, you know, the old math on that, which they're starting to question, but it used to be that if you save 3,500 calories, whether it's in a week or a month or a year, theoretically you lose 1 pound. They're starting to realize, which I think is common sense dropped in somewhere, that not everybody fits that formula. You know, 3,500 calories less than a person's needs on a daily basis is not a guarantee that they're going to lose 1 pound. People are different. But anyway, just as a rule of thumb, if you want to know the economy behind that. Cheese sticks, that can be, have you seen the mozzarella cheese sticks that come in little wrappers? Those are actually not a bad snack because they're around 100 calories. And then let's say you took a pack of these nuts. This is 100 calories. Think about that. Okay, that's nuts, guys. That's all you have. For 100 calories, you get that much. So you're talking a very small handful, you know, not a big bowl of them. But a handful of nuts, a cheese stick, and maybe half a banana or something. That's a good snack. I mean, you'd be looking at 250, 300 calories, but that has the protein, and it has the banana with the fiber, and the nuts, and it's got a little bit of good fat. It's kind of got a nice composition of things that would keep you full. Because when we were talking about all of this, the real key to all of this is to slow down how fast your food turns into blood sugar. When you eat food that has protein, good quality fat, and the right kinds of carbs with the fiber and the fresh content to them, that slows down how fast that meal turns into sugar. You want that sugar, that release of the food turning into sugar over a 3 to 4 hour period to keep you full. Okay, that's what you're going for. Just like I want that gas that I put in my car to get me 3 or 4 hours down the highway if possible, right? So we don't necessarily want to run on empty either. So just like you're not going to let your gas tank go to empty, 3.5 hours, when you're just starting to feel hungry again, that's the time to eat something. Not when you're, I only ate 100 calories all day today, I'm so good. And then you go raid the kitchen all night long because your body thought you were starving. Don't do that. Eat small, frequent, regular meals. But that snack we were just talking about, that would be an example of something that would kind of get you through a couple of hours until you do start eating dinner. And then you don't go crazy because you've kept your body from getting anything all day. Yep, just more of the same. Butter, we get that question a lot, is butter evil? No. it kind of, a lot of this depends on how much of the stuff you're using on food. It's really better to try to not have to depend upon whether it's margarine or butter or these kind of like low-calorie sprays. You know, you can, if you're somebody that really wants a whole bunch of oil and fat and stuff on your vegetables, you might want to consider one of those spray things with the margarine substitute, just to give you that flavor that you're looking for. But we really encourage, you know, try to start using things like Mrs. Dash and herbs and spices and seasonings to give your vegetables flavor without having to put a lot of oil and fat in them. Because again, you're going to save some calories by doing that. Okay, this is the meat section. And just here, the word of caution would be to watch how much of these, like sausages, let's see if I have one of those pointing, yeah, the summer sausages and the hot dogs. There's a brand called Healthy Choice that is lower in fat and lower in sodium, and they tend to have healthier versions of summer sausage and hot dogs and things. Your turkey hot dogs, you got to watch that. A lot of times they just use dark meat turkey in the hot dog. So check your fat and your calorie content on your hot dogs. I guess the thing I would encourage here is to look for, you know, the white meat chicken, look for the lean ground beef. Those are going to be your healthiest choices. With steak, things like sirloin steak, flank steak, some of your leaner cuts of beef would be better. This is really, it's sometimes hard to find extra lean ground beef that's 96%, but if you can even find 90-92%, it's better than the 80-20. That 80-20 beef is pretty greasy. This is an area where people get tripped up a lot because they really think that this is healthy stuff here, and so often these fruit juices are just full of sugar. Especially like, let me see if I can make this thing work. This kind of stuff here. These big jugs of colored water, these are just full of sugar. They're just sugar water. You might as well take a bag of blood sugar and just put it directly in your vein and see what happens. It's not a lot different. It just goes through your stomach first this way. The iced tea and stuff, again, watch that iced tea because you can make diet iced tea easy at home. You just don't put sugar in it when you brew it. I mean, that's not hard. But you can get flavored, you know, you can do the artificial. I mean, I'm not like advocating, oh, just eat tons and tons of NutraSweet and all this other. But, you know, working with other flavors, maybe putting a little lemon and a little fresh orange wedges in some iced tea, you can really bring some flavor into that and start kind of redirecting your taste buds to not have to have a bunch of sugar. A lot of times people don't maybe like to eat fresh vegetables or they're too expensive. We advocate, you know, looking at frozen vegetables. Nowadays there's a lot of these good combination vegetable things that you can buy. They've got flavors with them. I think there's one right now, I was seeing it at the grocery the other day, where they've got like barbecued corn and buffalo wings flavored cauliflower. Now, I bought it. I ate it. I did. They had ranch flavored broccoli. I just thought that sounded like fun, you know? So if you're somebody that doesn't really like to just eat plain vegetables, or maybe you have kids that don't like to eat plain vegetables. A lot of kids don't like to eat plain vegetables. The flavored combination vegetable thing can be a good solution for that. The other thing you can do is, have you seen these? Well, here's one. These bags, kind of like a meal in a bag, where you've got the chicken and the pasta and the vegetables and stuff. That can be a nice alternative too. When we're talking about bread, I know, Teresa, you said earlier that a bad snack is if a person just ate a bunch of bread all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yep, and you're right. That would not be a good snack. What we would recommend looking at here is, okay, your English muffins, that can be a good choice for a breakfast type of bread instead of waffles and pancakes and cinnamon rolls and all that kind of stuff. The English muffin You know, and that's something that you could do, like you could put egg on top of that or a piece of Canadian bacon, and you can make that into like a breakfast sandwich. The 100% whole wheat bread is what we're recommending too. Some of the others that just are partially made with, they have some whole grain, but they're mostly processed. They're not going to be as healthy for you. You're looking for the fiber in the bread. Let me just say, most bread breaks down in blood sugar pretty quick. There's very few breads that aren't going to turn into blood sugar pretty fast. So it's really not that big of an issue one way or the other. But looking for the whole grain, the rye bread, the denser, thicker, heavier breads, those are more likely to be healthier for you. But eating a bunch of bread all the time, every day, not always a great idea. If you remember a couple of slides back, we were looking at the cheese section of the store, and they had those tortillas. Did you see that? At the bottom of the case, there was tortillas in bags. The tortillas are actually a decent choice instead of bread. If you can kind of substitute in tortillas more often instead of eating bread, you'll find that that will, you know, help the blood sugar and sometimes the calories too. Oh dear. Anybody see a healthy one here?
Yes.
Oh, James, you see one? Okay, what's healthy? Did you say Cheerios? Okay. Oh, all right, ding, ding, ding. That's a good answer. Shauna?
Special K.
Okay, good, very good. Elizabeth? Total? Man, y'all are good. Did you? Are the answers? No, I'm kidding. Because I look at that and I'm just like, is any of this healthy? The reason I'm saying that is because most of the time, most of us, when we go to the grocery store and we're standing right here and we're looking at all of this, it's a little overwhelming, isn't it? It's hard to think that there's anything in all of that color and little rabbits and things jumping off of the boxes and toys and stuff. It's hard to think there's anything healthy in this. But every one of you named a good, healthy cereal out of that. All right. So yes, there is a way to navigate this, but just know that this is tricky. Okay. Soups. Oftentimes soups they're decent on calories, but they're high in sodium, right? If you look for the green, see that green there? A lot of times the green indicates that it is a lower sodium soup. So again, encourage you to look for your healthier types of soups, the healthy choice, the low sodium, reduced sodium with your soup. Soups are a good thing in the low sodium version to throw into the crock pot. If you have leftover vegetables, some leftover meat, throw that stuff in a crock pot and put some low sodium soup in there, put a lid on it, and you know, just about anything comes out good that way.
So the first sheet you have in there gives you some tips with going shopping and just maintaining some control in your costs. Probably one of the most important things to remember when you go grocery shopping is not to go to the store when you're hungry. Because if you're hungry and you see the bag of chips or what your preference is, Little Debbie cakes, I don't know, whatever you like, those are going to jump in that cart and go home with you. So it's just easier if you're not real hungry when you go to the store. The other thing to do is try to always have a grocery list and stick to that. Just try to get what you actually need. So if you have recipes and things at home, you have an idea of what you want to fix for the week. It helps to plan a menu for the week. I can be honest, I don't ever do that, and I should. But it really does help if you have an idea, at least an idea of what you want to make for the week. You know what you're looking for when you go to the store. Look at all the grocery ads. Do you have more than one store here in town? Okay. So sometimes comparison shopping. Sometimes just for the sake of time, maybe you're just going to hit one store. It just depends on how things are going for you. But make a list and then look at their ads and see if there's things on there that are on sale that you know you can use. For example, maybe they have a package of pork chops on sale and there's only 1 or 2 of you in the house, but that package has maybe 4 to 6 pork chops. You're more cost effective for you to buy the whole package like that, take the extra ones, wrap them up good and freeze them, and then you have some for another time around. If you're working in an area where there's limited resources to buy quantity food items, so you do not have Walmart here, and that's okay. You have a Dollar General. Sometimes their things are, you know, a little bit less expensive. But you might, like we talked with, what did we talk about this morning that you could, oh, the PB2 that perhaps you can ask the store manager to get. Or at least get a case in. So if there's something that you know as a group of people, like if all of you are friends and you hang out and you get to talking and you say, oh, I really like this, to make this food, but we don't have this here in town, talk to your store manager and maybe they can help get you some of that item in. Terry talked about the frozen vegetables and frozen fruits this morning. In the winter time, when the fresh stuff is not as available or it's more expensive, it's probably more cost effective for a person to buy the frozen stuff. This time of year, we're getting all the fresh stuff in, so it's a good time to get the fresh fruits and vegetables as much as you can. As far as like a protein item, because the meats and eggs tend to be pretty expensive, dried beans and peas, so the dried products are a good source of protein, and they're usually less expensive. They also take a little bit more planning, because you need to soak them and kind of get them soft so you can cook them. But they are a good source of protein and usually less expensive. I used to recommend eggs quite a bit because they used to be cheap. They kind of went up in price. I don't know. I haven't had to buy any for a while, so I don't know if they're coming down. Or if you have access to farm fresh eggs, sometimes those are less expensive.